I did a quick little slide intro here to talk about a few points. Okay, so currently it's available only in the tastytrade platform. The desktop version and mobile are in development, and so this free to taster traders. I just today learned this mega source from Rocco is another. I think you said free uh, uh, application that we could possibly
No,
put
no,
out.
optional Megan is not free. There's a price for it. So
Okay. Well, as far as pricing, one reason I hadn't launched into um, the truth was the fact that it was a $50 to $100 a month sort of outlay. Typically, I hear, and but to the tasty traders, I called them up today, and if you want to take a look at it, it does require you to open an account, but you don't have to fund it yet to go play around with it. So you'll have to spend your time and effort to give them a bit of information to uh, get you in to look at it. And I'll try to I've taken some screenshots prior to this, and you don't have to take a whole bunch of notes because I'll have this presentation following it to get you at least a little bit of feeling on what it can do. But if you're new to trading, I would think that this would have helped me a lot 12 years ago if I could have done some of this earlier on to speed up your gut feel for various strategies. Okay, so basically this is the screen that you sorry, that you will look at on the web-based version, and I'm having a hard time. I'm going to use the page button here. On this screen right here, this tool is located on the left-hand side, and it's labeled new, and the presets dates in there. These are some listings with the names of it. And then, of course, down at the bottom, you've got a custom um, uh, range and then all available. So let me flip off of this now. I'll go over to the actual platform, escape out of this, and minimize that. Okay, so when you land on the page, first of all, it might come up. Let me refresh this browser to get the data had gone stale. So you might see some clutter like this, so you can get rid of this panel and get rid of this panel over here, and even get rid of this panel on the right to get it full screen. So the first thing that you would go for is to select the strategy that you want in the time frame. Up here, this would come up and have the choice of those different time periods, tech sector mania, volatility spike in 2024, and some of those periods if you want to just look at those time frames. But for starters here, I'll just do the past 3 years. And then these are the strategies that are put out here, and you can pick one. I'll just pick a neutral strangle, and then for it's on the SPY again, and if the number of options that they had in the program was 50 to start with a week ago, and it's up to about 130 right now. So this, you can scroll through and pick the which one. Like if you wanted to pick target, that would be target, and you could run a back test on target. But so the list isn't infinite, but I would say that there would be probably several hundred of the highly liquid underlyings that will be available to us. Okay, next 16 delta, and I'll just use, if you want to change the delta, I'll put this one to 30 delta, for example. We're generally in an up market until something happens, and we will do some of the other selection points down here. Trading every day, you make a trade every day, but it's the conditions match other places in the program. The number of active trades for this particular version is it defaults to 1 here, and you could make it 2 or 3 that you want going on simultaneously, and only have a certain number of trades open at the same time. Choose what to do when the limit has been reached. So this forces it to 1 trade at a time, or if you wanted to make it 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the capital that you have, you could close the oldest trade or enter a new trade. And over on the right side, exit at a specific DTE. This was a 45 days to expiration, which is kind of a tastytrade kind of typical value that they normally start with, and then close the trade at 21 days remaining. Or you could switch it over to only stay in the trade a certain number of days, and then you're out. Okay, the stop loss as a percent of the premium, this would be 300%. So if you received $1, you'd be out at $3. And then on the profit side, taking profits at 50%. So, okay, let's run the back test here. All right, and those are the results. It's pretty quick. Now, it does take a while. If you take the full load of data, it will take about 30 seconds or so to go and run the whole thing. But these are the profit and loss statements. The green is your buy and hold strategy, and then gold is your investment gain. Now down at the bottom, this particular setup gave $5,000 in profit, and with $98.84. The 27% return on the unused capital was 43, nearly 44%. Now you can see the buy and hold was 3,000 here, and the buy and hold was minus 25%. So it's a little bit worse on the maximum drawdown. Now you're using, at the end of the trading, you used about $11,700 versus much more than that if you held 100 shares of stock. Now, along with that, then you got some details shown here, and then this would be the trades that are going along, and number of trades that are profitable and the loss. And this was the maximum drawdown at this point. And so some number of trade summary here. Okay. Now, the data logs I find interesting. So this will give you your number of trades here and what happened, whether you reached the limit or took a profit. And as you can see, the maximum loss wasn't reached, so it held it all the way to the end. Now, with these, now at the bottom, if it's got any more, so you can look at it all, but sometimes it's easier just to download it to and that's all it takes to download it and then open the file. And then I could, at least in my case, it opened up in Excel. Let me see if I can. There we go. All right, and then close that. So some more orders, and then it shows you each order that was placed as a credit, closing for a debit, and what the date it was shooting for 45, but it actually selected a 52. That was the nearest to 45 at the time, but then it closed it at 21 days, and then it got a 42 day and opened it, and then closed it at 28, opened the next one at 42 days, closed it at 24. And here again, if you want to download it, you just download it and open it up. Now this particular one, it does not break it out. You'll have to do some parsing on this particular bit of data, but it can be done. All right, and then the transactions, and then this would be the details of the puts and the calls, breaking the trade down even further. And then I won't download that one. You can see it later. The daily settlement. Now this one is every day. Or in other words, if you scroll down to the bottom of this, there's 1,000 more entries. So this one is definitely one that you'd want to output to a spreadsheet to analyze. All right. Now, if you wanted to go a new back test, just to give you a feel for the speed of it, I'll go and it remembered all of this stuff. So you didn't have to re-enter it. All I'm going to change is the date range. But all available. Okay. Okay, so this is all available data. Once you've run the data one time, then you can go in and tweak it, and it won't take this long to run it the second time since it's fetched the data.
So it looks sort of, could I ask a question, Dan?
Yes, go ahead.
So it sort of looks from these tests as if the option strategy is not doing any better than the underlying market.
Well, you're using much less capital.
Oh, okay.
So you got the SPY on the left and then the profit loss on the right. And even though they wind up at the same place, you've like in the last one, they were almost at the same ending point, and this one's going to end up to be the same thing.
Do you think that would be typical?
Okay, now this one, you can see the maximum drawdown. The profit was now the long term for this strategy, not doing any management at all, just setting it and forgetting it and rolling it over and over and over. To your point, Don, during that all the time periods back to January of 2013, this profit was 12,000. The buying whole was 34,000.
So it did much better,
But for 3 years, it was reversed.
but the max drawdown is very large.
Yeah, right. And that's now obviously, okay, let's go and let's run another back test. Now we can go back in and see, we'll see like I'm very new to this tool also, and I'm just learning with it. Instead of a 300% drawdown, let's do 200%. Let's see how long it takes to update it.
Yeah.
I think it's running a little faster this time.
Does this, so I can keep asking questions here while it's plotting. Does this, is this only on the web? They don't have this on the desktop, is that right? Or
At the current time, yes. It's going to be there.
Oh, really?
It's they have to roll it out. Oftentimes they will do one platform versus another platform, especially on the mobile stuff. The applications, they'll either do the Android first or the Apple platform first, which I'm not a fan of trading on your phone, but it is. You do it in a pinch when you can't get to any other thing.
So these are sort of it lends itself toward very mechanical, by forcibly to very mechanical strategies in which you have to specify every parameter ahead of time. Do you think that's realistic?
You get the feeling, like I'm saying, I'm new to backtesting. Rocco, and I could tell he was very familiar with the Omega tool that he had, but it looks like it is indeed a more flexible tool where you're even going to even be setting more parameters than this one. But you can go back and just
yeah, but is it realistic to set up a system with just a whole bunch of parameters?
I think you can see what changing one thing does to you versus like I did it there at the 3-year standpoint where I would actually increased the loss parameter there from 200% to 300, and you make more money because if you're able to take the higher drawdown, you're able to actually make more money longer term because the bad trades that you cashed in actually turned around to your favor by holding them longer.
Wouldn't
So
a realistic system have to be a lot more complicated, though?
realism is complicated at one at a time. I mean, it's I thought it was it might have been beneficial to me long ago, but I don't know how much time I'm going to spend now, back testing other than just to get a feel for it. The debit card, let me see, where's the short on Condor, for example. There we go. A 10, 16 and 10. And let's shorten up the time frame to back to 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll take an percent and see what happens.
Which this assumes that you have hold the same parameters over a very lengthy period of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there could also be risks of overfitting.
Yes. And these numbers are what it had for this, just because you like the looks of that first one I showed you that had a good gain. It was it's not a true case because let's look at this one. How many trades did it have? The summary. Okay, so 50 trades. Now, is 50 trades good enough to be representative?
I don't think so. Not
That's
over that
right. I
period of
agree with
time.
you. Yeah, I've heard 30 is a good number, but to tell the difference between one strategy to another, I've heard as high as 1,000 to differentiate between, if you're trying to tell the difference between one strategy that is and one strategy makes 3% better than the other. You probably need 1,000 cases to differentiate two different things. So let me go back to the new back test. Let me go and increase this one. That one was a loser. If we take it, say 300% of
quick question for you.
uh-huh.
The entry is basically, the first day your cash is available. Can you specify any rules for entry, such as like a MACD crossover or something like that?
I haven't seen the entry rules of I'd like to see only like IV, like I'm an IV nut that I want to only enter the trade if the IV or the so-called IV rank, which is
Right.
the number relative to itself, is on the high side, and skip over all of if the IV rank gets down to 10 or 15 or something like that, you
Yeah,
skip over it because you don't get enough bang for your buck in
right.
selling stuff. So yes, there's, to be realistic, any human, given their experience or inexperience in some cases, will do different things. It won't be this constant over the whole life, but you
Right.
could take and start looking at shorter and shorter time intervals if you would like, and then putting on some more trades and maybe increasing the number of positions you're putting on. So this one was a little bit better, 47 versus 675. And but then see what the details were. Capital, you see, this is only using $2,500 on this one. And because we're only doing one contract, we could up the number of contracts and get it and get it more bang for a buck, maybe. It's good.
Some people in the, Dan, some people in the chat are asking, it appears to only be close only quotes that it's going away. And they're saying that maybe it is not intraday sensitive.
I think they use all their the data here. It's a good question, and the data they're using is not intraday data. It is the price at, I think it's at 1:30 every day. Whatever the price is, it's not the opening or close. It's like a 1:30 price Eastern. I believe that's what the time was. So intraday data is. Rocco might can tell me that other Omega tool and the pay for tools, I guess, would have a intraday data.
Yeah, they do have intraday prices.
Yeah.
You can choose the timing. But I think there's a couple of things around this. One is, I mean, tastytrade has the tendency, obviously, I mean, they teach a couple of strategies, and you can see that the back testing tool that they've created is basically geared towards testing the strategies that they teach on their channels. I mean, if you just go to the new backtest page, right? Essentially, you only have a take profit or stop loss percentage based on the premium collected. That suggests that basically you're essentially have a credit strategy or a debit strategy where again you set up a percentage of whatever you paid. There is no stop based on how far you get away from a particular strike or based on time,
The only way I could get it to go to the other side was to select a higher delta, go over 50, go 60 or something, and finesse it that way.
Yeah, it's very specific to the type of trading that they teach. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that this tool is very, I think if you're trading their way, this tool is probably good enough. One thing I would caution though is like when you look at that, the return, it shows you the total return, a total return of 19% over 3 years. That's not really a great return, right? So it doesn't show you basically the compound annual growth rate, which is what you would want to do.
Yes.
It was your average yearly return, not just the overall total return, because that means nothing.
As soon as I flip back there, I didn't run the 10 strategy that I was going to run.
See, like net option, what is it? Net ONE has intraday data. So, I mean, a lot of the tools have intraday data. So if this doesn't have it, I mean, it's a rather
It doesn't say that they're not going to have it one day. It's just this is where the starting point is. And I think I heard Rocco mention that he had looked at it earlier on, and I glanced at it, but I never did even spend any time analyzing what they had done. But this time it looked like a little bit better, a little bit further along.
Yeah, it's definitely nicer and more polished than what it was when I looked at it like 2 years ago when they first announced it. It's still, again, not necessarily bashing on it. It's just that it's very specific for that type of trading. If you do the trading that they do, like 45 days to go, you close at 21 days. It's a basically daily type of trading. You don't need intraday data for that type of trading. For their specific type of trading.
All right. Well, I think maybe we've got a feel for what this.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
What it can do, and if you want it, Don, if you want it, I took some screenshots of this. If you want to post it later on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Some people have been asking if we have some slides, so that would be great.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. I just did some screenshots of various versions, and I don't know whether you want to put the downloads, the spreadsheet downloads examples that way up there or not.
Well, anything that you want to pass along, we'll certainly, put a link to. And some people are always interested in those details. Any other questions for Dan? Do you use any type of backtesting, Dan, in your own trading?
It's only through the observation of what various strategies have done over the course of time. But usually I never stick to the same strategy. I just I manage it. I don't keep the same one for more than, you put the trade on there and it starts to be a loser. I will start tinkering with it. I don't let it go a full 21 days before I do something. I'll do something long before 21 days.
Well, super. Thank you very much for that demo.